Hello everyone, welcome to the last panel of the Think for Tomorrow Value for Today. Today our topic is refugees worldwide, and the past 3 programs have focused on refugees coming from the Ukraine. And this panel discussion is going to end all the questions that have been raised by the keynote speakers. We are here with representatives of NGOs working with refugees coming from the Ukraine. If you have been here, you know that the keynote speeches have been mostly about immediate response, and what we will do here is we will focus on ongoing response to the crisis, because the war has been going on for a very long time and it's going to be staying with us, and it influences our lives, and it definitely influences the work of the NGOs. So this will be our focus. I would like to ask the representatives to briefly introduce themselves and their organizations in like 1.5 minutes, and then we will proceed with the questions.
Hi everyone, I'm here representing an NGO Єдність, which means unity. And we never thought that our focus would be working with Ukrainian refugees. Our NGO was founded around 4 years ago by moms like me who were living in Hungary, raising their kids. And we just wanted to create for our kids a Ukrainian-speaking community. We created Saturday school, we celebrated Ukrainian holidays together. We wanted our kids to not forget to speaking in Ukrainian. But when February 24 came, our main focus totally changed to helping refugees here in Hungary and also sending some humanitarian help to Ukraine. And what is important for me to share is that I'm Ukrainian, but I live here for 12 years already, and I have no clue. I cannot imagine what does it mean to lose your house and to be forced to seek a new future and to start your life from scratch. And no matter that every day I work with refugees, it is still very hard. And I hope that this panel discussion will show you more light on what does it mean to be a refugee and what challenges they face every day. Thank you.
Just your name, please. You haven't said your name.
Sorry, Marta Baranchikova.
Hello everyone, my name is Irina Fedor. I have been living in Budapest, same as Marta, for 12 years. And I'm originally from Ukraine, and I am representing here terre organization. It's child protection and child rights protection organization based in Switzerland. And before the war, it was a regional hub for southeastern Europe. And last spring, terre launched emergency response program for humanitarian crisis caused by Ukrainian war. So that's why I'm here, and I'm giving the floor to my colleague Svetlana.
Hi everyone, my name is Svetlana Zielovska. I'm from Ukraine too. I moved to Budapest, Hungary from March and live here 1 year. I work in TDH organization from September 2022. And I'm a teacher here. I work with children. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Agnes Pakot. I'm representing Migration Aid. I'm not from Hungary, I'm from Transylvania. So in the first migration crisis, I identified myself as a je suis bevándorló. But I'm lucky that I did not have to experience the refuge. I'm working with mainly with the shelter with Migration Aid, but I also foresee all the projects that we have. We are operating 2 shelters, one in Budapest and one in Győr, and we also have daycare school for Ukrainian children and Ukrainian refugee teachers, and we also operate an information project that we offer up-to-date information for the refugees in Hungary. What else we do? And we are developing animal-assisted trauma counseling or trauma treating project that is very new. So we are doing lots of stuff. We were like a dormant organization in the period between the 2015 crisis and this one, the new one, but suddenly we appeared in all the train stations and borders when the war broke out, and since then, from the temporary short-term help, we stabilized ourselves and we are operating many projects, and we have even employees, so we developed ourselves in a very short term. So in a nutshell, that's what we are doing now.
So, and I introduced myself for the third time today, but probably this is the last one. I'm Ernő Simon. I am the spokesperson of UNHCR here in Hungary. And before joining UNHCR more than 11 years ago, I used to be a journalist myself for some 20 years, so I could really very deeply understand our Q&A with Szabolcs-Vörös. I covered international affairs myself, and before joining UNHCR, I had traveled quite frequently to Ukraine myself. Of course, those times were totally different, and as a UNHCR spokesperson, I have already traveled Ukraine again. I traveled to eastern Ukraine, and of course, I have totally different impressions and totally different experience from that region, from the recent times.
Thank you so much for your introductions. So, as you have heard, we have small organizations like Unity, run by Ukrainian refugees here in Hungary, and we have huge ones like UNHCR, which is more like an umbrella organization. So we have a lot of perspectives here. So I'm asking the same question, and we will not get bored with the answers, I'm sure. So, like on a very personal level, if I reflect on myself, I volunteered when the Ukrainian refugees started to come. I was active on the internet, I was active at the Nyugati railway station, and then I stopped. And I want to start here, because I think this is the big challenge that I would like to discuss from a philosophical and from a practical angle, that your work has changed so much, small and big. Like, what is now what you do, what is the biggest challenge? Or if you want to be positive, what is something that has been a challenge in the long-term proceedings and you have solved it well? Because there might be something that you have already managed to answer, but I know that there are many open questions, so feel free to talk about either successes or big challenges in the long-term operation.
Thank you. So I think your words just describe perfectly what we see and when we feel that at the beginning everyone was on the railway station. I myself also almost went to the border, and then I remember that, oh, let's call Migration Aid because they are coordinating, and we were told that don't go to the border because there's a traffic jam already there because everybody wants to help and everybody's there and everybody is active. And we just counted that in the first month of operating the shelter in Madrid Street, one day we had like 100 volunteers because we were divided in 4-hour shifts, and we had 4 people for cleaning, 2 people for catering, 2 people for reception, 5 people for reception, and so on. So if you add up, there were like 20 people in a shift, and if you count them, they were like many people. And in the first some months we had like 2,000-3,000 volunteers, and then we stopped or some people stopped, and now we are like, I don't know, 30 people, and we are doing one day alone, and I do everything. I'm the coordinator, and I'm coordinating myself on the catering and cleaning and everything. And that's kind of natural also, and we heard the term war fatigue and companionship fatigue many times today, and I was like, everybody says the same and everybody feels the same, and that's that's kind of a good reinforcement that we are not strange or that nothing is bad with us or with our organization. That's the situation, that the war is going on for 1.5 years, and people are tired, and there are other catastrophes, and we have our personal catastrophes and inflation and everything, and it's just natural that people are tired, and it's also protection to yourself that you cannot handle so much pain that you see in this situation. So that's I think one of the biggest challenges, that it's not all the time in the media. People are just asking, are you still operating the shelter? Are there people still coming? Yes, we are full house. There are people still coming, and everybody is kind of like running out of the resources, mentally, physically, financially, and it's very challenging to keep up. And we ourselves are also very tired. And don't look at my eyes. But we have to do it because we feel like that we have to do it, and we will continue to do it until it's possible. I think until the last and 1 minute. So I think just to turn it to the positive side, and that's the positive side, that we have a small community, but we do it. We do the work that we have to do in a good mood, and we also do it for ourselves, because in one point it's also a help for ourselves to cope with this situation. Like I remember the first day of the war, and even 1 week before the war breaking out, I was already anxious that, oh my God, there will be a war. It cannot be that in 2022 there will be a war in Europe. And there was, and there is. And for some, I don't know, I could not help for 3 weeks or a month, and I was very anxious about it. And I think that for some people, that's also relief that you can do something and you can find your way in this area to help, and that's also a help for yourself. So I think that was a good point in this to develop, for me personally at least, and that was also a good push for our organization to really think about that, what are the resources that we can use, and who are the people that we can work with, and what are the needs that we can cover, in which direction we can involve ourselves. So I think that was also a good opportunity to take on the activities that we see that, okay, today is important to give shelter, and then to give food, and then to give also knowledge, and then daycare. And then looking forward, there will be a big need to recover and to assist people involved in the war, and children mainly, because we see a lot of children, and they, I think, are the biggest, so they lose the most. I did not want to say losers, but they lose the most in this situation. So I think that it's important to get into this situation, to see that what are the next steps that we can do, and we try to focus with our organization into these directions that are the next steps in helping the families and the children.
Yeah, you mentioned children, and I know that Irina, you started a pop-up school, and your tasks I'm sure they have shifted over this year. So could you please talk a bit about the school in the beginning and the school now?
Yes, sure, thank you. Talking about myself, my life drastically changed. I quit the job on the 24th of February, and I started helping Ukrainians. And then actually I found a place that there were lots of children and just a few teachers, refugees themselves, and everyone was trying to help everyone. So since I've been living here for a while, I know language, and I had some idea how can I help them in their difficult situation, and I did that for a long time. We had no support. We were supporting ourselves, and the main thing that we gained, the trust of the parents, and we saw a lot of tears. Sometimes they cried not only because of the war, but they were happy that there was a safe place for their kids. They could bring their kids to us and to go to find a job, to find where to live, to find additional assistance, or just to be alone for a while to overwhelm the situation. So at that time, I understood that I have to be here and I have to help as much as I can. So when the summer started last year, we realized that we have to do the same things for all. We had to start all day long programs because mothers finally found the jobs. They had to earn some money to live here in Hungary because they usually didn't have any income in Ukraine. So we did programs for all day long for children. So safe space, I think, is the most important thing for the mother. So if she knows that her child is okay, even if there is a war in her country, right now, her child is fine and he's smiling. I think that's the most important thing in the life of refugee. I say it like mother myself. I have 2 children. I realized, I was thinking lots of times, what should I do if I'd be still in Ukraine? What would be my first steps? Like, I arrived in Yugo-locality, where should I go? What should I do? And the first thing that I understand that I have to find to protect my children. So that's why I'm still working with this. And sometimes it's very hard to find out the motivation. And one of the most important motivation is, I think, the gratitude of parents, because they know that we are always there and they can come to us anytime and we will provide support, or we will help them to find out where to get this support. Talking about organization, about Terre, we were working like a regional hub, and we started this emergency response program, and we started it from the scratch, sometimes writing the program while helping people. I think everyone worked this way, that we need to help, and then, we have to provide some documents as well. So now we are 7 teams working in Budapest, in suburbs, in Debrecen, in terre as well. We are helping for now, I think, for 1,100 Ukrainians, mainly children and their families as well. And I'm proud that we reach them every day and we can provide support. I think the most important support is social support, because they don't know how to live in foreign country, because they were forced to leave their country. And recalling myself as an immigrant in Hungary, I was lucky because my husband speaks Hungarian and he helped me. He just grabbed my hand and went with me to any kind of government window, etc. It was horrible for me. I didn't understand anything. So now I'm recalling myself. I couldn't do anything with my life. So there was someone who was helping me. So now I am that one who's helping them, our families, to start normal life here, because they had to do this step. Thank you.
Is there anything to add there, or? No. Okay. So Marta, so how do you work long term? How has your work changed since the beginning of the war?
Yeah, I would like to build up on what my colleague was saying, that what is the most bigger challenge today, after 1.5 years? I would say it is understanding the fact that the situation persists. As you told, people are asking, are the refugees are still arriving to the shelter? Yes, the situation in Ukraine is still bad. Although, yes, we know there are different catastrophes in the world, but people still need help. And for the refugees, what I saw, every one of them had their own moment when he needed to accept that my life is now and I need to live there, because the life of most of them was on pause. They imagined in the beginning of the war that they will return all home by summer. And then summer came, and then September came. And I will always remember the post that my refugee friend wrote in summer, after 6 months after the war started, that today I allowed myself to smile for the first time. Why she wrote it? Because she felt, that she is in better situation than those people in Ukraine, and so she didn't allow herself to live to smile, to have fun, to have, I don't know, birthdays, to have parties with friends. And this is psychologically and emotionally very hard to face, that the people are still dying every day. And even for us Ukrainians living here, it is very hard to face that although we do a lot of help for these people, we cannot stop the situation, and it doesn't look that it will end soon. But to stay on the positive side, I would like to just share some positive practices which our organization did. Of course, in the first days, as everyone was mentioning, staying in New Goticality and helping, we worked as a taxi drivers, bringing people here and there, translating, whatever. But then after months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months came, we realized that, okay, the capacity is, we don't have this capacity. We all have our full-time jobs. We all have our families, and no one in our NGO receives salary for helping refugees. So there were two main things that we did, and I consider this like kind of successful things what we did. The first, we actually took the refugees, hired them to work with us, to volunteer with us, and to create the initiatives that they need. Because as I already told, I didn't know what they need, and they know best. So we grew up very quickly from 15 to 50 or even more people who were interested to help other people, like Irina told. When she found a pop-up school, it was just refugees helping refugees. And so that was the one which I believe is the most important. Always ask what they need. And the second, we brought the local communities, the friends, the organizations like UNHCR, IOM, like Real School, which is a private school that I have a full-time job there, and they just offered us a venue for free to host our Saturday school, so we could do the Saturday school for 100 kids, plus Hungarian language courses for adults. And I would like to maybe break the stereotype. A lot of people say that, you know, Hungarians are sick of this situation, they don't want to help. That's not true. So much local people, NGOs, random people are really helping. And also the other stereotype that Ukrainians are not thankful, but no, they are thankful. And by the way, when I was preparing to today's event, I decided to make a questionnaire to the family. I just sent the questions to the families. What are the challenges that you are facing? Because I consider their voice is most important than me. So maybe later I will share some quotes from here that what are they facing, what are their concerns now after 1.5 years.
Yes, I definitely want to talk about what they say, but first I would like to give the chance to Erne to talk about like how your work as a huge organization has changed over this year, and maybe if you want to open up to like future plans, because refugees either from the Ukraine or globally are going to be staying with us, so that's a big question. How has that impacted your work and your thinking?
Yes, UNHCR is a huge organization, and by now we have, according to the latest data, we have more than 20,000 staff members all over the world. But still, I would like to start with my own personal experience, personal story. The war started on a Thursday last year. It was the 24th of February. And within 4 days, the next week on Monday, I was sent to Moldova because in Moldova at the time, on the day when the war started, we had only one colleague. We didn't have an office. And Moldova was one of those countries neighboring Ukraine where many refugees were arriving. It was really, they were just flooding Ukraine, just like Poland and other countries. But Moldova, you should know, Moldova is a tiny country, just a little bit more than 3 million people, and a very poor country in Europe. So my colleagues needed help, and I remember 2 days later, so it was the 6th day of the war, basically. 2 days later, UNHCR managed to organize an airlift of exactly 8,000 UNHCR thermal blankets to Moldova. So, because this was the most pressing need. People were queuing at the border. During the daytime, it was -8, -10 degrees. During the night, it was way colder. So people needed blankets at the border. Today, the situation is totally different. Today, you do not deliver blankets to refugees from Ukraine. The needs are different. The challenges are different. So today, refugees from Ukraine do not need blankets. They need to be integrated, and they need to be integrated because what Marta, for example, has just explained. Because by now everybody understands this war, this refugee situation, will remain with us, unfortunately, for several more years. It became clear, unfortunately, pretty soon, within weeks or within months last year. But by now, we can really understand that it is not only because the war, unfortunately, I repeat myself, is unlikely to end in the near future, but also because there are cities, big cities, towns where people cannot return because those cities, those settlements are completely ruined. The energy system, the water system, everything is in ruins, so there is nowhere to return. The country, or large parts and important parts of the country, must be rebuilt before people can return, refugees can return. So these refugees will be forced to stay in the countries where they found their new homes, most likely for several more years. And if a person wants to live in dignity, if a person wants to survive in a new country in dignity and wants to live a happy life with his or her family, children, of course, the person must find a job. The children must attend schools, must learn the local language. They must have friends. They must socialize. Otherwise, it will be a very, very depressing new life, and they will lose their future. So this is what we are doing now. Actually, if after this panel discussion, if you look at our photo exhibition just behind these metallic containers, you will see several photos we exhibit there about the needs of integration. So this is about long-term accommodation. This is not about community shelters or mass shelters in sports facilities or in schools. People need decent homes. People need proper health care. People need employment. They need to be integrated, and they need to become part of the local society, of the local communities, small communities, not only the country and the society of the country, but also small communities. So this is what we are trying, of course, with the help of our partners, because as UNHCR, as an umbrella organization, we try to coordinate all these solidarity efforts of other organizations, our partner organizations. And with our partners, we tried to support people on their way towards integration, not only in Hungary, but everywhere where they live now outside Ukraine. Thanks.
You talk about integration, and I have a guess that some of the answers to your survey, Marta, are related to integration and settling down in Hungary. So could you share with us some of the results that you got?
I will very shortly share. It's only 25 people responded because I sent it yesterday evening, but just the cities from which people came is Kharkiv, Dnipro, Kyiv, Sumy, Kherson, and others. All of them mostly came in 222, and they all have kids. three main points, three main questions. What were the challenges you faced when you just moved? Of course, the language barrier for studies and for work, how to do it without speaking Hungarian, then a place to live, and for most of them, they just didn't have money. And yeah, they couldn't afford. The second question was, what are the positive, what support actually you faced here in the country? And they mentioned huge support of foundations and organizations like UNHCR and like NGOs like us, like IOM. And most of them, like 100%, were thankful very much to Budapest municipality for the free public transport. For them, this is such a huge help. Also free accommodation, also Ukrainian communities and classes like pop-up schools, Saturday schools, activities for kids and adults, language courses, and they all mentioned the great need with the support of adaptation of children to Hungarian schools, but most of them also wanted Ukrainian school, and we don't have official everyday school. And the last question was, what are the challenges of today? So, and today, most of them mention that, for example, I am alone here, and I realize that it's hard to find work. It's hard to find a work without language or with a good schedule, so I take care of my kid, bring it to him or her to kindergarten and back. Then I don't know the language. I live in a foreign country. It is hard to speak in the hospitals with the doctors or post offices, wherever. What they ask for, what they want, how we can help. They ask for more opportunities to learn Hungarian or English, of course, money support. And one of the greatest challenges is to, what I already mentioned, to cope with my own expectations. Like it's a quote, I thought I will be here not more than 1 year, but now I totally don't understand how much time more, and this uncertainty is frightening and frustrating. So what we can do, and actually we are doing it, we have a beautiful project now that we started with UNHCR. It is called Social Cohesion Lab, and it is all about bringing together locals and refugees. It is art events when they can sit together, draw and communicate, and maybe this Hungarian part of people can help with job, with translation, with whatever. It is bringing together. This is physical activities, this is events and stuff like this. And I would also like to mention another project that we did with support of IOM. It was a very hard decision for us. It was in September last year when people understood that, okay, they didn't go back to Ukraine. They are remaining to stay there. And again, we sent a questionnaire that, do you guys will attend Hungarian schools? And surprisingly, half of them told that no, we will stay online. Our kid will be studying in front of the computer, spending all of the day. Can you imagine actually 8 years old or 9 year old spending all of the days in front of the computer? And that was for us something non-acceptable, and no facts, nothing worked to actually tell them to bring to schools. And so we created this offline opportunity for the families to study, where the kids could actually offline studies having refugee teachers. But also we focused on studying for them Hungarian language, because there is a need. If you are in Hungary, you need to to learn Hungarian. To finish this survey, I will just want to show you that we asked what are your plans for the future, and 52% want to return to Ukraine as soon as possible. Only 8% responded they would like to stay in Hungary. Another 8% responded we might stay in Hungary or another European country, and 24% are not sure. It will depend on the situation. And just one touching story for you, maybe, guys, to understand the soul of Ukrainian refugee. Together with this school, with the refugee school, we did a project. The project was called "Who Am I? What Makes Me Me?" Imagine yourself forced to leave your home, you don't have anymore your work, your profession, you don't speak a language, and you are in a totally new situation. So what is it, what makes you you? Is it your family? Is it your country? Is it your hobbies? As a result of the project, we painted the paintings which would express who am I, and one of the refugee teachers painted a flower, poppy, which is like a national flower of Ukraine, and this poppy was not cut nicely, but it was with force destroyed, and the roots remain. And the description of the painting was that this is how I feel. My roots remained in Ukraine. I didn't choose to move. I didn't want to search for a better future in Europe. I want to be back in Ukraine. And I'm here. It was not my option. So just when you see, you know, the refugees, don't put labels on them that they are refugees. They didn't choose it. They are person. That's why the projects like social cohesion or things like this are really important, because we never know what will happen with us. So we all need to show this kindness.
It seems to me a returning element in your answers that mental health, maintaining it or finding it or not losing it or finding it again after losing it is one of the biggest tasks. And Orsolya in the keynote addressed this issue, saying that it's super difficult to offer it, to find a way to offer it, and it's very difficult to accept help in mental health issues. So do you have any experience with that in your work, especially regarding this long-term thinking that has to be done and is very painful?
May I? Thank you. At the beginning of the war, I talked to one of the ladies who arrived from Ukraine, and I asked her if she is okay. She told that, yes, I'm fine, my legs, my arms, my head are all right. I asked, is your head okay inside of you? She told, oh, I'm a very strong Ukrainian woman, we don't believe in psychologists. So that was my first... So that was the first time I talked with Ukrainians about mental health, about psychosocial support. By now, it's almost 1.5 years since the war started. I'd say that 1/3 of our beneficiaries asked us for mental support. And I'm very happy about that, and I'm grateful to them that they accept the fact that they all, or almost all of them, are traumatized in more or less way. We have a psychologist who works in our community center for Ukrainian kids refugees with our partnership with Trauma Center, and she was observing for a while, just coming and looking at us and the children, what are we doing and what are we talking about, and she told that there is no child who is not traumatized, unfortunately. Sometimes it cannot be seen, child is smiling, cooperating, talking to us, playing games, but we don't know what's going inside him or her. So I believe that psychosocial support is one of the most important missions of the NGOs, because we work on the field. We talk to people, so we are not robots, they are not robots as well. We are still people. I still believe that people working at NGOs, they go by heart, not by mind. So it's important also to understand that not only need that I need to eat, I need to sleep somewhere, but what is your inner need, like a person. what's in your mind. And we talk a lot. Since we are field workers, we talk a lot about with our beneficiaries, with children when they are mothers, sometimes fathers. It's just a few fathers in our project. Unfortunately, they are almost all around in Ukraine. And when in the beginning it seems that this child is all right, this mother is all right, but if you gain that trust, they try talking to you. And there are lots of horrible things that they had to survive, or we heard a lot of horrible stories that happened here in Hungary or in the neighboring countries. And that's why, for example, I'm not a psychologist, but I took part in the training, like a volunteer psychological mental support for refugees, and I'm happy to implement this practice in my everyday life, so I can distinguish if there is a special problem that person should or have to go to psychologist, and I try to convince them to go to get this help. We have lots of examples with Svetlana. For example, Svetlana is a math teacher, and sometimes she comes to me after the class and she tells me, Ira, I see there is something wrong with this child, and we're starting to work on it. I connect to mother, father, or any relative, and we start. They are very grateful if we start asking them, because usually everyone sees, like Marta told, that they all are labeled, like you are refugees, you are nothing here, but they want to be heard. And when you start talking to them, they tell you their stories, and so I feel that there is lots of work to do in this field, and we have to help not only with food, with provide any kind of support, to help them to find the jobs, but the social support, mental health, it's crucial part of their lives.
Agnes, what's your experience?
Yeah, we also see this, and since the beginning of the war we met like more than 14,000 people, because at the beginning many people were just changing, going. It was very fast, but even in this very rapid period we could see that some people were really exhausted, like physically and mentally. Some people were still keeping strong, but all the time we have at least weekly, one or twice a week, psychologists are coming, and they are just walking around, and they come to us like, do you have some people that you need us to talk to? And then we give some names, some room numbers, or just point them, and then they just go around, they just sit together, speak about things. So we also see that it's kind of a cultural thing also, and I think that is also relevant still to Hungary. Maybe it's changing that, I don't need help, I don't need psychologist, I can deal with my things, I'm a strong person. But yeah, at the end, everybody needs some kind of a help, and we also see this kind of changes, that we see that that person might need some support, but we cannot force it, and then 2 days later we hear from somebody that, okay, he reached out through the other colleague asking for a psychologist to help, and then we are, okay, finally, thank you, and then we are connecting them. So of course we see this, and with the time going forward, we could see in the guests coming to us that they were in worse and worse mental state. So you could see that the people who were arriving or who are arriving still new today or these days have more baggage in this psychological sense, and also the children, like. It's very touchy to see the evolution of the children, that at the beginning who was very closed and not talking to anyone, they start to get more relaxed and they relate to the volunteers, and when I arrive everybody's like, Agnes. I'm not a children person, I don't have kids and probably will not, but I have like, I don't know, 20 godchildren in the shelter, because everybody's just like, oh, you arrived, you are here. So yeah, we see this, and And I would like to tie back to the schools, and I'm very glad to hear these experiences, because we also have a pop-up school or alternative or whatever we call them, and sometimes we hear the other direction, that it's a must to go, you have to be aligned in the national school system, and it is true, that is the law. But we never force the people. We always advertise. We tell them, okay, it would be a good idea to be in that system. You are here, but we always hear the other story, like what is the need of the children, what is the need of the parents, and they would like to be among Ukrainian kids, Ukrainian teachers, of course, learning the languages too, but somehow kind of a familiar background or a familiar entourage that they need to feel safe and learn as a school, right? And then all the feedbacks that I heard from children being involved in the national school system, many were about bullying, even from the teacher's side, and that was very sad to hear. Of course, we see the good examples also, but somehow it's a feeling that the good examples are exceptions. And it's good to celebrate them, and we always celebrate when somebody wants to go to school and even learn Hungarian, even if they are not Hungarian speakers. That is always a good direction, because then we see this kind of long-term thinking. But if you ask about long-term thinking, that is something that is a big lack. If I ask somebody at the shelters, because I meet most of the people there, they don't think about long term. It's not existing. Like, we also prepared for a workshop and asked the children that what would you like to do? What is your plan? What are your goals? And zero. There is like nothing like future. It's the moment. It's today. And I think the pausa that you said, it's a better term, because I would have said stuckness or this kind of. I cannot think for tomorrow. I cannot think for a year or 5 years. I can think about the past, which is sad. So I decide not to decide. And then I'm just stuck in this moment. I have food, I have roof, I have things to wear and some money, and then that's it. I don't have to decide, and I don't have to think about anything, because there is nothing for me. And this is very hard to experience and to see that people who are grown up, who are strong, and who would be able to do many things, even to go forward or to have a good job or something, they cannot, and they are stuck in this something, in this zero, and it's very hard to push them out and bring them to decide something for themselves, like even to find a flat and do a living for themselves. And one more thing for the trauma and the food, like one of my responsibilities is to provide the fooding, the catering in the shelter, and it's always hard to see that people are grabbing the food and they are so hungry, and then taking the food, and I'm always complaining to my colleagues and friends that, but that's waste, because they are not eating it. But then I switch my brain and I know that it's psychology. Food is safe. Food is provision. Food is my safety. That is like the squirrels. I have my winter provisions, and that's one of my challenges that I have to deal with. This, that of course it would be nice to provide twice the amount, and then I can suffice this kind of psychological safety. But it's also that I have to take care of my resources. That I cannot deal with this amount. I cannot afford to have waste. So yeah. That's it, and I stop.
Can I just quickly add to this that psychological safety and mental health is actually essential. We have this beautiful sub-working group for the colleagues organized by UNHCR and UNICEF, and I remember in the very beginning one colleague from Trauma Center told that if you are in a state of trauma, you cannot at the same time learn. It is just impossible. So, and all the kids from Ukraine and their parents are in trauma, so we couldn't expect from them just to throw them in the schools and that they will start learning. The first thing we need we needed to do was to create this psychological safe environment, and that's, for example, what we did in real school and what we did in Saturday school. 15 Ukrainian kids came to school, and no one were eager to, learn from the first day. No, although it was not even Hungarian, it was English language, but our first task was just to be with them and to create this including environment, that you are here and you are welcome here. So I would say that what we all could do is to show them, for the local community, to show that they are welcome here and to create this safety.
I would like to link my last question to what you said, creating this welcoming environment. So SZIGET is a very international festival, and I have some data here with numbers, like how many Ukrainians are in Germany, how many are in Poland, but I'm not boring anyone with them. So when we go back home and we are full of energy after 2 days of sleep, could you give some ideas of how can someone, a young person, contribute or help or start doing what we did and stop doing last year? I had no, like, you are so silent.
I was still thinking about the previous question, but I'm trying to switch. Well, of course, I fully agree that the first and most important thing is to provide food, drinking water, and probably shelter above your head. But the next step is psychosocial help. This is why we at UNHCR we work together with several organizations working with psychiatrists and psychotherapists, and they provide psychosocial help or even psychiatric help. And actually, I would like to share another story with you. This is not my personal story. I have a very minuscule role in it. When I was sent last year to Moldova in the first weeks of the war, a Hungarian television journalist contacted me. I helped her to get into Chisinau, into the Moldovan capital, where she boarded a bus, a refugee bus, and that bus transported her and dozens of refugees from Moldova through Romania, through Hungary to Germany. Children normally, when they are on a plane, when they are on a bus, when they are on a train, several adults can even complain about the behavior of the children because they cry, because they scream, because they complain all the time, or every 5 minutes they ask, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" So this journalist, she told me that the most shocking experience for her on the bus was that children were totally silent. For her, she's a mother herself. For her, this behavior of the children was totally unnatural. And it was a clear sign that those children had very traumatic experience. They were thinking about this traumatic experience in their minds. And her comment, this is how she commented this whole experience to me, that she, at the time on the bus, she was thinking about those children, that if they remain in this psychological state and they do not receive help from the outside, then they will have problems decades later, years later, decades later, when they grow adult. So I still have this sentence in my mind. As for your question, yeah, I think it is a very important issue, how we individuals or even as volunteers we can help today. I think this is how we can help. We can join any volunteer groups, we can join any NGOs and help them, but it is important to contact those who already have the experience, who already, well, not just the know-how, but already know what the people need. So I think the very basics is that we should not try to figure out ourselves what the refugees need. We must learn it from them, and I think this is the key.
I would say that it is just come, ask what they need. We always need help. We always need volunteers, and just be there. If you want to help, you don't need to really think, what can I do? How could I start? Just come, find little NGOs, bigger NGOs, organizations, whatever, and that's how you can help. Because just even communicating and having coffee together, for the refugees, it already make a big difference. And maybe just to finish, I would like to tell success stories from the girl, how they saw creating psychological safety helped. We had one girl, 14 years old, who came to real school without her English level was very low. She could hardly speak few sentences. And after 1 year, can you believe, she was taking part in the debate competition from the school, and they won the first prize, which was amazing. So just by being there, by being friendly, and by showing that you are here, you can create this all good things, which all I think of us should strive to do.
So I would like to say, when we work with children, we need to be safe and safe peace, safe. We need to create safe space for children when we can to do something with children. Because when we feel fullness, then children also feel fullness. And for me, I think working with children is a process of condition, and also understand it, each individualistic. We need to understand all of children, the person. We need to understand this individualistic, and just each children need to separate approach and understand acceptance. And I would like to say, for us, we need to be raise and light for children, because our children need to us. And we need to help them to recognize their uniqueness, to go through difficult stage of life together, to win victory in all spheres of life. And I believe we then to try to help, make it easier to love through the difficult moments of life, and of each person who come to us. It will be children, it will be people, and it will be parents, because all of us need to help, and all of us need to be safe.
Agnes, you have one sentence for a closing remark.
Thank you.
No pressure.
I think joining the right organization that is closest to you physically or in your ideas or activities, it's a very good idea. Very many organizations are working, and those people are also tired. So it's always a good help if there are new new hands, new eyes, fresh energy, and we are always happy when we see new people coming. So I encourage everyone to join one of us or any other organization, even in the other countries that you are coming from, and just be aware that this is still happening. I think I wouldn't force anyone to read all the news, but just be the messenger. If somebody still asks, like, is the war still serious? Like, yes, you heard about it. Tell people that this is real still, and it's not stopping, and we have to be aware of it. And even if we cannot stop it or cannot really do anything to have an influence in the situation itself, but we can do locally, and just keeping the topic up. I think it's also important to memorize this, to have it live.
Thank you so much. So we have been talking about the current situation of in the Russia-Ukrainian war with the representatives of Migration Aid, Terre, Unity, and UNHCR. Thank you so much.
Thank you.